Greetings, and welcome back to the MCOC Encyclopedia. Today, we'll be covering the master marksman himself, Bullseye, the bleeding, evading, and critting skill nightmare. We'll be breaking down all his abilities and the best ways to defeat him. Bullseye has a whole list of abilities that all seem to make him more and more annoying to fight on defense. We've got quite a few to go through, but I will do my best to cover them all. Firstly, because he's Bullseye, he can't miss, apart from on his own loading screen with White Tiger, but I guess that doesn't count. Secondly, all of his attacks are guaranteed crits, even through block, unless they are well-timed blocks, so no guaranteed crits on parries. Bullseye is also immune to precision and fatigue effect, and he gains a small cruelty buff for 8 seconds when this immunity triggers, but these don't stack. He also gains separate cruelty passives when he would bleed his opponent, and these are paused during either champion special attacks or when you dex. Max 10 of these. They also increase his physical resistance by quite a bit. Note that the wording here is whenever he would bleed you, meaning he will still gain these versus bleed immune champions. Bullseye's blade attacks, which are both of his mediums, his first light attack, and many special hits, inflicts instant bleed damage. But this also triggers if you evade him, or even dex him. Yes, just dexing his attacks will bleed you. Bullseye can gain perfect release bonuses on his specials that increase the potency of his cruelty passives. More cruelty passives, higher crit damage, more block damage. On defense, there is a 10% chance per cruelty Bullseye has that he will gain one of his perfect release passives on a special attack, and he will always gain one on his special 3. Now on to the main issue. Bullseye gains his Killer Instinct passive when he gains a bar of power for 3 seconds, though this is paused whilst he is over 1 bar of power, during his special attacks, or until he evades you. This has a 12-second cooldown once it triggers. How does he evade you? Well, whilst his Killer Instinct passive is active, Bullseye has a 100% chance to evade any incoming basic attack and instantly counterattack. This will also purify all stun debuffs, but not passives, something to consider. This won't trigger while Bullseye is blocking, and we can't use ability accuracy to get around it. If he does evade you, you will take some more instant bleed damage, and he has a super high chance to instantly throw specials, if he has one available, and you don't have time to block it. You will be taking that special 1 or special 2 to the face. So more guaranteed crits and more instant bleed damage. And if this wasn't annoying enough, if he throws the special 1 or special 2 straight after evading, he also gains a Fury passive for 6 seconds for even more damage. Finally, special attacks that he throws against invisible, phasing, or untouchable opponents that will still hit because he can't miss, will grant his opponent no power. On top of this, Bullseye's special attacks are pretty annoying to deal with as well. The special 1 grants a true accuracy passive for 15 seconds that is paused until the end of the special attack, and the final hit inflicts additional instant bleeds. Remember that these instant bleeds won't trigger on well-timed blocks, but parrying every hit of this special is quite tricky. It is possible to fully evade, though this is difficult, and you will still be taking bleed damage from evading the attacks. The special 2 grants a 25% non-stacking impact passive, and inflicts a non-stacking 50% bleed vulnerability passive for 30 seconds each, paused until the end of the special. The last hit will also passively stun you for 1.5 seconds. The impact passive increases his block penetration, meaning even more block damage, and the bleed vulnerability increases the potency of his bleeds for even more bleed damage. The special 3 inflicts a non-stacking 50% disorient passive for 45 seconds that also pauses all of Bullseye's cruelties. But as always, special 3s are best avoided. Bullseye's signature ability isn't that impactful on defense, but can still be very annoying. When throwing a special attack, Bullseye reduces incoming damage by a lot, for 0.06 seconds, effectively 1 in-game frame. This is to counter power stings, so we can't use them as a source of damage. If you have a load of power stings on him and he throws the special, he will not be taking much damage from them at all. Secondly, whenever either champion is stunned or struck by a heavy attack, Bullseye has a 50% chance to purify 50% of the debuffs on him, though he can only remove a maximum of 10, and he can't remove the parry stun. So he can't really use debuffs either. And if this video is helping you at all, please, guaranteed crit that like button. So what do we need to beat this guy? Well, the primary things we need to counter are those instant bleeds and his evade. If he can't do this, he becomes much simpler to deal with. Remember that the passive that triggers the evade is not paused while he's under 1 bar of power. This means we can push him above 1 bar of power to activate it, bait out the special 1 to unpause it, and repeat. The problem with doing this is you have to be extremely careful that you don't push him too far. When you push him to above 1 bar of power, the Killer Instinct passive triggers instantly, so if you try to hit him again, even in the same combo, he will evade and counterattack you. Note that he can't evade out of special attacks or passive stuns, so we can use those to our advantage. Now we just need someone that's bleed immune, and we're good to go. Remember that Bullseye will still gain cruelty passives versus bleed immune opponents. It's when he would bleed you. Colossus, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Iceman, Warlock, Cosmic Ghost Rider, and any mutant made into a Horseman of Apocalypse would all do very well here. Awakened Colossus, Black Widow Clairvoyant, and Horsewoman Storm will do particularly well, as they can actually benefit from being bled, and Bullseye does that a lot. Colossus has a high chance to gain additional armor ups, Black Widow Clairvoyant will gain her extra charges, but you must stay in bleed mode with her, and Storm will gain extra prowess. If you bring Iceman, his cold snaps can prevent Bullseye from evading as well. We can also use a few tricks to get around the evade and counterattack, but this is much riskier in my opinion. If you hit him with a double medium, or if you launch your striker the moment he evades, you can hit him before the counterattack lands. The timing here can be quite precise. Again, I see this as a bit more risky, but it can work with the right champions or in the right situations. One other option is to keep him permanently below 1 bar of power, so the Killer Instinct passive never triggers. Magic and Red Skull are the only champions that really come to mind that can possibly do this. With Magic, you might have to deal with 1 or 2 of his Killer Instincts and then go into her special 2 spam cycle. Remember also that his instant bleeds can't trigger on parries, so if we were using Red Skull, you can parry, which would drain his power, dupe 3 or 4 hits, back off, and repeat. Best if your Red Skull is awakened. Karate Mike has a great Battlegrounds clip demonstrating exactly this, which I'll link below. We can also use evade countering champions, so champions with True Strike or just inbuilt abilities, such as Mole Man or Professor X above 25 charges. The issue with using these sort of champions though is, yes, you will be avoiding his Killer Instinct evade, but you're still going to be eating a lot of crits and a lot of bleed damage. It's up to you which one you prefer to deal with, though I personally find it easier to play around the evade and avoid the damage. So, Bullseye. Can't miss, and gains cruelties when he would bleed you, that he does on his specials, both mediums, and first light attack. These effects can trigger through blocks that aren't well timed. The cruelty potency can be increased by Bullseye's perfect release passives, and he has a 10% chance per cruelty on him to gain one of these passives when he uses a special attack, and a guaranteed one on his special 3. When pushed above 1 bar of power, Bullseye gains a Killer Instinct passive that is paused until he is below 1 bar of power. This will let him instantly evade and counterattack any basic attack, and then he has a very high chance to throw a special if he has one available. Our best counters to Bullseye are bleed immune champions and play around the evades. Push him to just above 1 bar of power, bait the special 1, and repeat. Well-timed blocks will help reduce block damage. I hope this helps you against any future Bullseyes, and do let me know how your fights are going now. As soon as this video goes out, There will be a post available for you to vote on for our next Defender. They will be Science this time, and the options will be Jessica Jones, Photon, Spider-Ham, or Overseer. Thing and Spot are already on the channel. We also need a tier list update fairly soon, and the most popular request after finishing Act 6 is to jump into Act 7, so we will be jumping straight into Act 7. I also have a Discord server, so do go and join that. A great place to get specific advice, make suggestions for future video topics, and while I'm awake, I do my best to be there, as much as possible. If you have any questions, please do leave them down below. Thank you, and I will see you next time.